They're Pinky and the Brain. Yes, Pinky and the Brain. One is a genius, the other's insane. They're Pinky and the Brain, 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 brain. Narf!
Tonight, we're going to take over the world by cloning ourselves, Pinky.
How are we going to do that, Brain?
Remember what we saw yesterday when we snuck into the cloning lab? The glucose molecule ingested by the cell is being broken down into two pyruvate molecules, producing a net of 2 ATPs and 2 NADH. Then the pyruvates travel to the mitochondria, where they go through the Krebs cycle, chemiosmosis, and oxidative phosphorylation. The Krebs cycle converts the pyruvates into acetyl-CoA and results in the production of 6 NADH, 2 FADH2, and 2 ATP molecules. Then, oxidative phosphorylation grabs the protons from the NADH and FADH2 molecules and uses them to drive a proton gradient through the inner mitochondrial membrane, resulting in the generation of an additional 34 ATP molecules. We can generate a lot of ATP molecules using just one glucose molecule, but I can't use this process to take over the world. It's just too slow. The Krebs cycle and oxidative phosphorylation take too long. Thus, I must make adjustments to make it more efficient.
Hey, look over there, Brain.
I will need to implement a defense mechanism to prevent them from stopping us.
Narf.
I've got it, Pinky. This is how we're going to rapidly clone ourselves to take over the world.
What is it, Brain?
The Warburg Effect, Pinky. It explains that if all the glucose we ingest is diverted to go through the aerobic glycolysis pathway, we can generate energy at a much faster rate. Thus, we can produce many clones over a short period of time. Here, look at this. In order to multiply faster, we should avoid the Krebs cycle and oxidative phosphorylation, and instead just use glycolysis to generate 2 ATPs per glucose. Although in theory this seems inefficient, the production of lactate from glucose actually occurs 10 to 100 times faster than the complete oxidation of glucose in the mitochondria, therefore making the rate of metabolism higher. As such, we would be able to consume 100 times more glucose in the normal cells and produce more ATP globally, giving us a selective advantage to outcompete the normal cells. After forming pyruvate and 2 ATPs, we can convert the pyruvate into lactate instead of sending it to the Krebs cycle. This is aerobic glycolysis, Pinky.
But why is it called aerobic glycolysis, Brain?
Despite the presence of oxygen and functioning mitochondria, we will predominantly use the glycolytic pathway instead of sending down the pyruvates to the mitochondria to undergo cellular respiration.
But how are we going to make the cell's favorite aerobic glycolysis over aerobic respiration in the presence of oxygen?
The Warburg effect actually suggests 3 main reasons for this preference. 1. It assures ATP synthesis when clones outgrow their oxygen supply. As the number of clones increase, the competition for oxygen and nutrients increases as well. In order to avoid the effects of a limited oxygen and nutrient supply on metabolism, this pathway ensures that ATP can reproduce indefinitely regardless of oxygen supplies. 2. The metabolic intermediates of aerobic glycolysis help synthesize cellular components in the clone, namely nucleotides, to make DNA and RNA. This favors further tumor growth. And finally 3. Production and accumulation of lactate lowers extracellular pH. This changes the cell signaling in tumor clones to favor high proliferation by decreasing apoptosis. As such, a defense mechanism is created.
This looks really promising, Brain.
Follow me, we'll get started right away.
We're here to investigate some suspicious cancerous activity.
Quick, use our acidic extracellular pH from our lactate accumulation to fight off the apoptosis police.
Not even the apoptosis police can stop us. Soon, we'll be invasive enough and take over the world. Pinky, why did you just do that?
I'm sorry, Brain. I was just having too much fun.
Just leave me alone, Pinky. I need to plan for tomorrow night.
Why, Brain? What are we going to do tomorrow night?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.